Alright, we're good?
Alright.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of I'm Not a Scientist, where we talk about a bunch of random shit, stuff that we find interesting, mainly about space, but, who knows what we will end up talking about. Firstly, before we start, we do want to thank all of the 52 people that actually listened to the first episode. To be honest, we weren't even expecting that many people to actually listen to the whole thing. We thought people would just sort of look at it, check it out, but I didn't think people would actually be that into it. So thank you for the feedback. Thank you for your kind words. We really appreciate it. It means a lot for us. Starting this, obviously, we didn't have that much expectations. It's only a new thing that we're starting. And we know the first episode's content, it wasn't the best. The conversation did sort of, go a bit all over the place. So we want to sort of try to improve it, week by week. We want to make adjustments and make this, listening experience as good as we can for everyone. And we hope that, the topics that we do end up bringing to the table is interesting, fun to talk about, where we, let our imaginations go off a little bit, talk about some facts. But at the end of the day, hey, we're not a scientist, so don't take everything we say with truth, take it with a grain of salt. But obviously we are going to try our best to educate ourselves as well with the topics that we're talking about, so we're not just talking out of our arses. So hopefully then that will sort of educate you. And
that seems to be what we've found together is the kind of the feel of this podcast already, is that we've already done, between last podcast and this one, we've done heaps of research on all this stuff we find really interesting.
Yes.
So this is like our own little knowledge journey. Yeah. And we're just bringing it to you guys because we're super fascinated by it. You guys might not be, but also might be. So we don't really mind. This ultimately is our little project, and we're doing this for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So we really love that anybody might enjoy this with us, but for us it's just a little project, and we're gaining knowledge here and there, all that. And as you were saying before, all the people listening from the first podcast, we got a whole bunch of feedback as well. Pretty good feedback.
That was awesome, right?
It was so good. It felt like we were really getting somewhere. And some of it was none of it was negative, because everyone's extremely nice. But it was a really good kind of all that feedback helped us heaps, and we're going to implement a bunch of little pointers here and there into our podcast that we've got in our head to kind of make it an easier listening experience for you guys, and kind of just make it a smoother ride overall. So
I think as long as we, the biggest feedback that we got from our last episode was, staying in topics and things like that. So we want to do our best to sort of, make that experience a lot better for everyone else. And hopefully the conversations will flow a lot better. And before we start, I do want to let everyone know. So when we actually recorded the first episode, we didn't even have a name for the podcast. So what we've done, we actually recorded the first episode, and then we were just doing some jiu-jitsu afterwards while listening to it. And when Till actually started talking about ants in the 2D space, and then when I brought in the tunnel, and when Teal said, hey, I'm not a scientist, we're like, fuck it, that's the name.
We have to go with that.
That's the name.
We have to go with that. It's just, it encapsulates what we're doing here, which is like, we don't really know what we're talking about, but we're super passionate.
Yeah, and we're curious, right?
Super curious, and it all, it's the perfect name to just show what we're doing. Yeah. And, I think it's pretty on point for us. Yeah. For what we got going on here. So, that was pretty interesting though. So that's why we didn't do an intro for the last episode, an intro, but we didn't give a name. Yeah. Because we didn't have a name.
Yeah, because everyone was actually texting me, you guys should do an intro, And I'm like, we didn't even have a name.
We tried to last episode. We did have an intro of like what we would talk, what we wanted to talk about, what we're trying to get across, what we're trying to do. But we didn't have a name. Yeah. So we just skated right past that, and we're like, we'll just figure it out when we figure it out. But it really worked well. And it's we've got a little thing going, so hopefully.
Well, we touched on some important topics, with our first episode. With this episode, we want to talk about a bunch of other things. Now, clearly, with the first episode, again, there wasn't that much of a structure, but, we still put something out there. So hopefully moving forward,
it's just going to get better and better each time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we did pretty okay for a first episode of not having so much of a clear idea of what we were doing at all. We just had a good conversation. We stuck to some points, but we also bounced around a lot. And that's the main point we kind of got, was that we would start somewhere, go off on a tangent, hit another point, go off on that tangent, and never return to the original point we were kind of with. And then I imagine that's frustrating to listen to, because I know when I listened to it back, there were a few points where I was like,
but you were saying something else.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, literally. So we're going to try and nail that down.
Yep.
Obviously, we're not perfect, so we're not going to get anything, 100%.
But as long as we sort of, make small adjustments, small improvements, hopefully, sooner or later we'll get this to where we really sort of want it to, where we want to see this product.
We're going to be perfect.
So just quickly before we start, the last episode, I actually had a lot of people hit me up about this, where I said in the next episode I'll talk a bit about my mushroom trip. Now, we're not going to get into that just yet. That will come, I promise you. Yep. I will talk about it. But first, I actually want to start the conversation about that video that you sent me the other day.
Yeah, right. So I sent Kant a little video. I think it was the day after we did the podcast, or maybe the day of. I can't remember. But there was a little video I came across, a little TED talk about the Mars rovers, right? And I was just fascinated in that space. Just right after the podcast, I was in kind of like this mindset of just like everything space. Wow, we're going to go to Mars, all this crazy stuff. So I saw this video, sent it to Khan, and basically the premise of it, it's about the first two, I think, rovers that went to Mars, which is Spirit and Curiosity, right?
Spirit and Opportunity.
Sorry, Curiosity is the next one.
Yeah, Curiosity is the next one.
Sorry, guys. But, yeah, Spirit and Opportunity.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that a bit, because... Or we're going to try to, because that's pretty fascinating, and
very fascinating.
Taking a few notes down here and there. But where should we start with that? I reckon there's a lot to go over. Isn't there?
There is a lot to go over. Well, I'm just fascinated how we're even able to achieve something like this. How we can shoot up a rocket into the sky, send the robot to something like that's so far away.
In the video, when they actually show all like the engineering that has to go into it just to make the thing land on the planet. Like literally, we just went over it a bit before the podcast to just go over it again and put it back into our heads so that we got a firm grip of what's going on.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like from the time it enters orbit, there's so many little things going on, engineering things going on to make sure it all works perfectly. Like it's got a heat shield. So it's going through the atmosphere at some ridiculous speed. Like, what was it, 16,000?
16,000 miles per hour.
It's flying through the atmosphere, right? It's going so fast, it burns a hole through Mars's atmosphere. And then they have to ditch the heat shield because that thing's heated up to, I think they said, the same as the sun, right?
The same temperature of the sun.
Surface temperature of the sun. So they have to ditch that heat shield.
That's fucking hot.
Mate, I get hot standing out on the beach sometimes. It's like, that's too much. So they have to ditch that heat shield so that it doesn't fry the rover inside and all the components in there. So they ditch the heat shield. The little rover then deploys this freaking supersonic parachute. So it's flying through the sky at 16. It's got to go from 16,000 miles per hour to freaking almost nothing.
It's still, even when it's dropping, when it's about to hit, it still is going for like 400, 500 miles per hour, which is insane.
Yeah. And then once it gets to that point, so it's going about that fast, and it gets to the point where it's ready to cut the line from the chute to drop down to Earth.
What happens then?
It deploys these little nugget, like, airbags. Yeah. Like, it turns into this little friggin', like, giant airbag thing.
What's that tire company? The guy with the... the mascot?
Dunlop. Is it the Dunlop?
No. Is it Michelin? No, Dunlop?
I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it looks very similar to that. Yeah. Like, it looks like, it's covered in a bunch of boils or some shit. Yeah. It looks ridiculous. And then they drop it from, I can't remember how high, but then it hits the surface of Mars. Yeah. And obviously gravity's different on Mars. It bounces.
Yeah.
And keeps bouncing until it stops. But they said each bounce obviously gets less and less. But the first bounce is like 2 miles high or something, which is it would bounce over the Empire State Building.
Yep.
So
apparently it bounces for like 3-4 hours until it comes to a complete stop.
Literally, it's just bouncing across Mars until it dissipates its energy. Because I think, gravity works differently on Mars, so it bounces for a bit longer, potentially. There's not as much gravity pulling it to the core of the planet.
And burn.
So it bounces for ages, and then once it stopped bouncing, it sits there, it deflates its airbags, and then the little rover's all packed in nice and tight, and then over the course of, I think it was like 45 minutes per section, and there was like 3 or 4 sections of where it deploys little solar panels and the like periscope head with the eyes.
And it has to charge up first too.
And it has to charge up, so it's got these great wings around it basically that are solar panels, and that's how it charges its battery. So it uses all the energy from the sun, same as here on Earth, to charge itself, right?
Yeah, which is insane.
And it's got a little internal clock, so that it can feel if it doesn't have enough power, it can put itself into sleep mode, and then the little clock tells it, all right, you need to wake up again to check if the power's enough. So it'll go to sleep sometimes, wake up, it's charging off the sun. Anyway, so all that takes however long, a couple of hours, just to get out of the little airbag capsule, and then it takes off on its little journey. And the first one was Spirit, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure the first one was Spirit.
And what's interesting about it, before it even sort of gets to Mars, the fact that, how we said, it travels at 16,000 miles per hour, which is insane, right? And it travels at that speed for 7 months.
It takes 7 months. It takes 7 months from launch out of Earth's orbit to Mars orbit. It's 7 months of deep. They call it deep space travel or something, right?
Yeah.
So 7 months of just traveling at a speed you can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
Just shooting through space.
And like that's non-stop 24/7 for 7 months.
Yeah.
Like, there's no traffic, Yeah. I got stuck in traffic,
There was a few asteroids had to fucking give way or whatever.
No.
But yes.
So Spirit, that was the first one that sort of they landed. And what's interesting about the first one was it was up there for 5 years. So it was actually on Mars, on its project for 5 years. What's interesting also, 5 years, you're like, shit, in 5 years, we could have explored all of Mars. But the funny thing is, in 5 years, it only sort of went around for 5 miles.
I think the speed they said in this little video I watched about when they were building the rovers, it was 5 centimeters per hour?
5 centimeters for every 45 seconds or something.
I can't remember what it was, but it was something so minuscule. So you think it's the rovers, I think they said it was like 5'4" or 5'6" or something, right? So not huge. It's not a giant.
It's a decent size.
That's how high it stands. It's obviously wider, but it's not a giant machine. And it crawls like a snail. So over 5 years, it doesn't explore so much. But on their journey, so Spirit and Opportunity were kind of sent out as like geologist robots.
That's right.
They were sent out to check the rocks, check out they would burn little holes through the rocks with lasers and see what chemicals burn out of it to see if it's very similar to Earth or not. And I think they did find very similar, like whatever components or chemicals that are here on Earth. And then as they explored more, they discovered a lot about that there's actually there was once water here that
for sure.
I can't remember that, not acidic water, water that can sustain life, basically.
Well, they've got salt deposits and everything as well.
Exactly. So water that would actually sustain life, because I think before that they found water that was not tenable for that. It wouldn't sustain life. It was too acidic or something. I can't remember. The pH was wrong. But anyway, before we get too much into that, they launched Opportunity, and I can't remember how long after Spirit. How long was it?
I believe one was in 2007, and then the other one was 2011.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on that.
Exactly.
I believe
please.
Opportunity was 2011, and Opportunity actually stayed up there for over a decade, which is insane.
So up until, I can't remember if it was 2016 or 17, please don't take me seriously on this. I'm just trying to call back a video that I watched like a week ago. It had been going up until then.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So it had been on Mars and exploring for over a decade and was only supposed to be there for 90 days.
Yeah, that's right.
The rovers, both Spirit and Opportunity, were only supposed to last 90 days. That was the life expectancy on both robots. And they both went for well over that. Spirit, like you said, 5 or so years, and then Opportunity
over a decade. And 25 miles. The area they covered. So the first one, Spirit was only 5 miles. So from 5 to 25, obviously a lot more larger sample of rocks they can look at, areas they can discover. And just more areas to do science on. And like you said, they were shooting lasers at rocks, not really breaking them apart and damaging the environment.
Just a tiny hole.
Yeah, it was like a 5 mil diameter holes that
just to see the smoke chemical burn out of it, to see what kind of components the rock held, determining whether it's it shows the history of the planet and stuff like that. I'm not a geologist. We can call that next time. I'm not a geologist, but they continued on with Opportunity, and Opportunity found all sorts of stuff like clay deposits.
Yeah, that's right.
Which you can only, as they said, I'm pretty sure you can only find where water used to be, right? Like waterbeds, riverbeds,
that's right.
Oceans,
that's right.
All that kind of stuff. So the general consensus from what I was watching and listening to is that Mars used to be a water planet similar to Earth.
Very similar.
Very similar to Earth. So Mars is basically a Mad Max style Earth.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mars could have been very much like Earth. It's the most it's the closest planet to Earth in our solar system, as in atmosphere, gravity. It rotates once every 24 hours. Exactly the same as Earth almost, I'm pretty sure. So it has the same day-night cycle. It has polar ice caps. That's one thing I found out. So Mars is almost... Obviously, I don't know, but it's very similar to Earth in that if we try to terraform it, and terraforming is the idea that you introduce stuff like greenhouse gases and certain microbes to produce oxygen, turning another planet into Earth, giving it an oxygen-rich atmosphere so that we can breathe on it, right? But realistically, that would take a fucking long time, because they can obviously speed up the process, but imagine, I mean, they can't do that yet, but that's the idea, that you could terraform Mars to speed up the process of making it actually habitable. Because even if we traveled to Mars and lived on Mars, we would be stuck in like little domes, small colonies that you couldn't really go outside of, because you can't breathe out there, right?
No.
So the idea is that they would want to make it a Earth-like planet so that we could live and breathe and do all sorts of stuff, which is pretty alarming. I mean, like...
Alarming how?
Well, one of the things I was listening to when I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about terraforming, he was like, look, if we can terraform Mars and turn Mars into Earth, we can turn Earth back into Earth. So why are we so determined to ditch our planet and just run off and make a new planet?
It's a lot easier, right, to fix.
I think people are too overwhelmed. It's like, oh, let's start again. Let's go trash Mars, because that was basically what he was saying. He was like, well, we've trashed this place, so I guess we've got to move on and start trashing. What happens in 1 billion years when we've trashed Mars?
I mean, maybe we already trashed Mars and then we came here.
Dude, that is blown. Didn't we talk about that a bit last time?
Well, sort of.
I think we talked about it in reverse, but yeah, that would be crazy. What if ancient ancestors managed somehow to get from Mars to Earth, because Mars was getting fucked?
Who knows?
And now we're here on Earth.
I can easily see that happening.
That would be insane. And then we're going back.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has some crazy trip of dream. And
Daddy Elon.
Daddy Elon. We got to go back to Mars, our roots. That's where we're actually from, or something. And then just cool little stuff as well, like watching the video, watching the Earth set on the Mars horizon.
Oh, dude, that was mind-blowing.
And I can't... This is speculation, because I actually can't remember, but I think the sun is blue on Mars.
Well, so the sun, because the atmosphere is different in Mars, like in Earth, you see a blue sky.
Yeah.
But it's not actually blue out in space, right?
No, it's a reflection of the ocean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with Mars as well. Like out in space, it's actually darkness. Even if you look at the sun, like if you go to the moon, it's not like when the sun comes up, it's day, night, whatever. It's not like that. It's just darkness. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's a lot further away from the sun as well, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I just want to sort of dial back a little bit, So, we talk about spirit and opportunity, and how much they improved in such short amount of time. When you go from 5 miles exploration to 25 miles in just like 5 years, and then in 2011, the biggest, the most advanced one was launched, which was the Curiosity.
I was just about to mention that. Curiosity is the latest one. Yeah. I don't know too much about Curiosity because I think they've just kind of got that together.
Yeah, so they actually they're about to launch an updated version. I think later this year, where a bunch of countries are sort of coming together, sort of helping out with all these parts. I think Spain, France, obviously America.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So they're sort of like building different parts of it. And so
they showed that little diagram,
at the end. So that's like the project they're working on at the moment.
And Curiosity's a little bigger. A little
bigger.
It's a bit of it's just an upgrade rover.
Yeah, like wheels are stronger, because that was the issue.
Didn't it have a different objective? Because Spirit and Opportunity were geologists.
This is a biologist.
This is a biologist, yes. Right?
So the Curiosity they launched in 2011 was the first biologist robot that they sent out, and what they were able to do with it, because it was so much more advanced, when they would break rocks or whatever, it would actually able to scoop up and sort of put it in its system, and then break apart the particles, and then get into the DNA, the structure of what forms everything in that planet. And they actually found a bunch of other rocks as well that aren't even from Mars. I don't know if you saw that.
I think I remember that. Well, that's like all asteroid stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. But it's interesting.
That speaks a bit about just space in general. Like, that's the same here on Earth.
Yeah.
Remember that octopus thing you were saying? Octopus has turned up on an asteroid. Imagine just a rock covered in octopus. They've got like blast shield protection against the atmosphere. I wouldn't be surprised.
Imagine if aliens sent a Curiosity like robot to here. And imagine like you're walking down the street, all of a sudden this inflatable thing opens up, it just
crushes your house.
You're like bouncing for like 5-6 hours. Everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? Hey Jerry, what's that?
It looks at you, it's like, what do you just fries a laser through your head? You just get absolutely annihilated. That's maybe, you remember War of the Worlds?
Yes.
Maybe that's what that was. They were just coming to check us out, man.
Yeah.
And they thought we were just rocks. Yeah. Just shooting lasers, picking us up. Like, we're all like, oh shit, what's going on? That'd be crazy.
It's pretty funny.
Anyway, back to a little bit more on Mars. Yeah. So we talked a bit about the rovers.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting thing for us. I thought it's just incredible the amount of space exploration that we've actually managed since like the 60s when it all started, really, right? And I know a lot of this scares people. I used to be a bit terrified of the thought of like leaving Earth, and I thought, it's like, why don't they put their efforts to Earth instead of just all space? But it's a curiosity of the human race. I mean, I think it's awesome, and I love that kind of
100%.
Like space. It's something we just can't understand, and that captures us in some way. Captures me, captures you. We're definitely two people that are very intrigued by it, so that's why we're talking about it. But another point I wanted to bring up was, so when we actually get to the point where we can travel to Mars, what's the inequality that there's going to be between social groups? What's the price going to be to get to Mars? You know what I mean? Is it going to be only rich people that get to go?
I think at first, yes.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be like everything. Once that technology becomes more...
so normal.
Just sort of part of, everyday...
They shoot anybody to Mars.
Yeah.
You want to go?
Yeah. It's like, when TVs first came out, I remember buying our first plasma TV, flat screen. Well, we paid like $4,000. And like, it wasn't even HD or anything. You know what I mean? Now, you go to Aldi, you get $400, you get a 60-inch 4K smart TV that does everything.
No, so that makes sense.
I think that's just the natural sort of... I think that's what happens with technology, with everything, right?
In the beginning.
It's always going to be expensive. Not everyone is going to be able to afford it, whether it's space travel or the new iPhone, you know what I mean?
Do you think there'll be a massive divide as well? People who really want to go to Mars and they go to Mars, and the people on Earth who are like, this is sacrilege, you can't leave Earth, this is ridiculous, like, why are you ditching your planet to go to some other... Like, do you think there'll be a division? Like, it'll split down the middle, and it'll be like two religions battling against each other? The Martians and the Earth people.
I actually think there'll be way more than two sides. I just think when you involve that many people, like, you know, when you look at the population, everyone's going to have an opinion. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to have a different opinion. Some people are going to say, what the fuck are you doing? So, I mean, you know, people think the Earth is flat.
Oh, dude, let's talk about that for 1
you know
second.
What I mean?
1 second. Let's talk about it for 1 second. All right, you be the flat earther for a second.
All right, okay.
All right. So the Earth
I can't see the curvature, mate. It's fucking flat.
Okay, so the Earth's flat, right?
Prove me wrong. Let's do it.
Okay, so the Earth's flat? Yes?
Well, yeah, okay.
You're
I'll
the flat earther, right?
I'll be the flat earther.
It's all right, mate. How you doing? So the Earth's flat, right?
Yeah, it's pretty
right,
flat.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't see any curvature.
Is the sun flat?
No, but how do you know the sun is real?
So out of the how many planets do we have in our solar system? 9, is it? Can't remember.
Only Earth is flat.
Only Earth's flat, right?
Yeah.
So Neptune and Jupiter and Saturn are all round, right?
Well, I think they're actually holograms, so they're not even real.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay,
and NASA is funded by Disney.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So there's another point I got, just quickly.
Yeah.
Beside the point that Earth's the only flat planet in the universe.
Yeah.
Silhouette on the moon. You know how we get a crescent moon?
Yep.
That's the shadow of the Earth on the moon. So if it was flat, wouldn't it just be a slit? But because it's round, it makes a crescent on the moon. That would be my debunk to a flat earther. I'd be like, so you see the moon when it's a crescent?
Yeah.
Why is it a crescent? Oh, the moon's made of cheese, mate. It's like, okay, idiot. That'd
be pretty dope.
Oh god, you remember Wallace and Gromit?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that shit. So anyway, the curvature of the phases of the moon, as in crescent moon, full moon, blah blah blah, so on. That crescent is created by the shadow of the Earth, as in the moon passing behind or near the Earth, the sun going hitting the Earth, and the shadow of Earth going onto the moon. It is fucking round, people. Come on.
Do you know how I would fucking debunk a flat earther? I'd be like, just watch any of the SpaceX launch videos.
But there you go. That's all. There you go. That's
the
one Neil deGrasse Tyson goes all the time. He's like, we have photos of it.
Yeah.
And they go, they're fake.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how far can you go with someone like that? You know, and how... It's like, bro, yeah, watch your fucking SpaceX. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't understand. But then, if the Earth was flat, wouldn't there be way different modes of travel? Like, think about that. Like, wouldn't times and stuff be different for travel? Like, if you're on a plane, you know what I mean? Would times be different? Because if the Earth's round and then the Earth's flat, it would be different, correct?
Oh yeah, of course it would be different.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
Definitely not. But I mean, wouldn't
check us out on Soundcloud and YouTube.com.
Yeah, well, wait for the YouTube because it's...
Hey, also, can I plug in our email address? We've actually got an email address.
Oh, yeah.
So any questions we want to get from fans or any topics maybe they want us to discuss, right? They can send us an email. Obviously, they can leave a comment on our videos and everything as well, but they can send us an email on...
Yeah, anything you're interested for, like if you got a topic that you'd love us to talk about, maybe just shoot it and be like, oh, you guys should talk about this. That'd be hilarious. Or this would be great. What's your opinion on this? We'd love that. We'll obviously link it.
We'll link it on the video and
YouTube and stuff. But
so it's I'm Not a Scientist podcast at gmail.com. So any questions, thoughts, concerns?
We'll link it all though to make it easier for everybody.
I thought I'd just plug that in there.
Yeah, that was good. Now, where were we?
Oops. We were talking about flat Earth. You said how it would be different.
Before that, there was something.
You said the photos could be fake and edited and whatnot.
No, you jumped from something to flat Earth. How do we get to there? There was something before. Well, it looks like we've got to move on, guys.
Let's move on.
Dude, that's so irritating. We were on something. That's what I mean. We just went. We just did what you guys already told us we do.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
We just bounced from like 3 things, and now we can't find a way back. Oh bloody hell!
Well, we were talking about...
Something about space. Oh, travel to
Mars.
No,
okay, so no. You said, will there be a divide? And then I said there'll be more than two sides. I think there'll be more. And then I said there's people that still believe the Earth is flat. Yeah. And then that's when we saw.
And before that, we were talking about space travel to Mars being new. That's why it'll cost more. Yes. Only certain social groups will be able to go.
Yes.
But then as it probably gets... Once they build a freaking tube space bridge from Mars to Earth... that is a 7-month-long journey at 16,000 miles. They can shoot you through a fucking tube at 1 billion miles per hour, and you're just like, and your head just, and you turn up at Mars, and you hit like a giant airbag, and then you hop off and you're on Mars. You're like, oh shit, I forgot my wallet. Hop back in, back you go.
You know what would be more fun though? If they made you wear those inflatable bags. And then they drop it and you bounce on Mars for like 4 hours.
Dude, they just fly a plane over Mars and they just carpet bomb a whole bunch of people. Dun, 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 and you bounce for like a day.
Boing, boing, boing.
You're bouncing for like a whole day.
It's like a trampoline. All these like people like forming businesses and shit. You want to bounce on the Mars for 4 hours?
Oh my god.
$2 million.
Oh my god.
That's pretty fun.
I wonder what space drugs will discover as well.
Yeah.
That'll be the first thing. Someone gets in there, some chemist who'll be like, oh dude, I'm discovered.
Smoke this shit up.
And your eyes go blue, you're like, oh.
I know the future. But let's say, you know, because it's inevitable that, you know, down the track, we are going to be able to explore Mars. We're going to be able to send people there. Yeah, like, it's just a matter of time.
There are people working on it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
It's just a matter of time. So, because we're so limited with what we can explore with the current technology that we have, with the rovers that we're sending, do you think once we start sending people and we can, you know, send archaeologists, they can start digging, we can send equipment, machinery, do you think we'll find evidence of life?
Evidence of life, I'm not sure, because obviously this is my biased earthling view, but it's like water needs to be present in our understanding of life. But I reckon there are so many different forms of life we totally could. Like some little, oh my god, extremophiles? Do you know those little like micro, like little creatures? They're called extremophiles, I think. I know it sounds intense, but it's not what you think. But they're these little tiny creatures, and they can live in like volcanoes and freeze to death. Like they can live in the most insane environments, and that has been speculated that they could be anywhere in the universe, and that would be considered life. We don't need something that can talk and walk and do all this shit.
Well, the first animal we sent to space were a bunch of fruit flies. And
really?
Yeah.
I thought it was a dog or something.
Yeah, and well, yeah, dogs and monkeys.
Fruit flies, call in.
And apparently they were able to survive all the radiation, like the space radiation, they were fine. And I just want to rephrase my question. I don't mean like things that are actually living there now, but just signs of life existed from before. So I'm not saying like if we do go out there, we're going to find a bird-like creature or something, but do you think
signs that there were something?
Yeah, like maybe we start digging up, will we find bones or other shit?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because like you said, once we get, you know, archaeologists and, you know, digging on the planet and seeing what's what, you find a skeleton of some creature. There you go. Yeah. I reckon that's so possible.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely close-minded to think that Earth's the only place that had ever once had life. Because, you know, Mars, from what they've discovered, it had water.
Yeah,
all the riverbeds and sandstone and all this clay, it showed that this fucking planet was like an ocean once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's I find that very interesting, because they actually, they found evidence that it can sustain life. It has all the properties to sustain life.
100%.
But there is no evidence that life ever existed on Mars. But it was totally possible. So
yeah, for sure. And Earth, from what already we've kind of discovered about Earth's history and its age and all that stuff, this has happened to Earth before. Earth didn't have an atmosphere. Nothing lived here except for these. And I wish I could remember the name of these little creatures, but they're the creatures that sucked all the carbon dioxide, out of the atmosphere and farted out fucking oxygen. They made the Earth. Well, they gave the Earth oxygen. You know what I mean? So I can't remember what they're called, but they eat carbon dioxide, the shit we can't breathe, and fucking
Wasn't it? I thought it was, you know, because obviously Earth went through a lot of...
They're these little, like, I can't...
Yeah, like a single-cell organisms. Single-cell organisms.
Literally, and that's...
They were able to catch oxygen bubbles, and then develop, and then sort of, you know...
Over, like, a million years or something crazy, they populated Earth's... They created Earth's atmosphere, basically, with, you know, the... with oxygen and made it possible to breathe. So it's like that was the idea behind the terraforming, really, was like, can we stick a bunch of those creatures on Mars, see what happens, you know, put a bunch of water on there, speed up the process, basically. But along that little chain as well, it's like you need greenhouse gases because with no... I can't remember how it works, man. I did biology, I should know this. But it's like the ocean heats up, the Earth heats up, and it radiates infrared back out into space. So the Earth doesn't just fry like a microwave. The problem is right now, with the amount of greenhouse gases we're pumping out into the atmosphere, it's making it too thick. Heat can't get back out. We're here frying, basically. But you do need greenhouse gases, I think, to kind of keep a balanced cold, hot. But ours is just extreme at the moment. So you go do that in Mars, make it easy to live there. I don't know how it works. But that obviously... not happen in our lifetime. It's cool to speculate, and
you never know, man. There could be some crazy breakthrough.
But I reckon you're pretty right with what you were saying about, like, I reckon fossils and stuff. Because even if it's like a fossil of some space creature that was on a meteor, it's a tiny little thing. It might not even have a skeleton. But you know, like troglodytes, how we is that the right word? I can't remember. But they're basically like in like rocks and stuff. They're because
like a fossil.
They don't have, a fossil. They don't have a skeleton, but they're like imprinted into the rock or something. That could easily be possible. You know what I mean? On Mars, you find it's the same with leaves and stuff. Like they're imprinted in rocks, and I reckon you dig in Mars, you'll find something.
And what's also interesting is I'm pretty sure it was with Curiosity. They had a few issues because, you know, some of the rocks were so sharp. It was puncturing the wheels and everything, the titanium wheels that it was puncturing. And what that happened is, so they actually were dragging some of the legs through it, right? And that lifted up some of the surface of the Mars. So when they look back, they saw different colors of the surface. Because, you know, you get layers over time. Like if you dig through the Earth, you get a history. You know what I mean? As to what happened, how long it takes. There's different layers, right?
Yeah.
And even that they were able to sort of see it. So clearly, you know, Mars has a history as well. We just don't have the technology. The technology isn't advanced to actually, you know, dig it a little deeper and to see what actually went down, 100%. To understand the history.
We're still doing that on Earth. There's a research center out in Iceland, and they dig. I can't remember how deep. Quite deep. They put this cylinder digging tool, and it goes down at the ice, and it pulls out this long as piece of ice. I don't want to give a number because I don't know, but it's very long. It's very long. I don't want to say like a kilometer long, but it's fucking long, right? Yeah. And they pull it out, and through this pure block of ice that they just pull out the ground, you see layers of things. And the guy was like, that layer is like 10 years each time. And there was one layer that was just pure black. And he was like, that is a global volcanic eruption.
It's crazy.
And it's like 4 inches thick of just soot, basically. And he's like, yeah, the Earth was covered in volcanic ash. And that was so deep down. That was like a bit like 10, 100 fucking, you know, it's like so long ago. Thousands and thousands of years ago. And then it goes up and there's another layer and it's a bit of like different ice or something. And they can determine the age and what happened in it. Like, that eruption happened because we can see here through the soot, and you do that on Mars, you'll discover stuff as well. We're still discovering stuff here on Earth like that, and that's, you know, and each ring, he was like, it's like the same on like a piece of wood. You cut open a tree, you see the rings, that's its age.
Exactly.
And he said, this is exactly the same thing with Earth. You see all the different moments of history and what happened and how old it is. And I was just like, oh my God.
It's almost like everything that happens leaves an imprint.
It always will.
It always leaves some sort of, you know, you can always look back and see what happened, you know what I mean, and where it happened, and obviously our understanding of it isn't still that great.
I'm just going to change topic now, So
can I say something?
Go.
Because you mentioned volcanoes and whatnot. Here's a fun fact: largest volcano in our solar system is actually in Mars.
Oh, good. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that.
And the size of it is like the same size as the state of Arizona.
Wasn't it?
Which is insane.
Like the volcano on its own.
just the volcano.
So it's a super volcano.
Yeah, like our biggest volcano is fucking nothing compared to this.
And I'm speculating here, but if Arizona was a volcano and then erupted on Earth, that would destroy it would fuck everything up. You know what I mean?
Fuck everything up.
We don't understand how intense a supervolcano is, like what it could actually do. And that's what happened millions of years ago on the planet. All these supervolcanoes are going off and just turned the whole planet into like a molten ball of lava. So it's like we're sitting on a whole... We've got our own supervolcanoes, but that's a real supervolcano. Because it showed... The picture we saw, it showed side by side that volcano on Mars compared to the biggest one we had here on Earth. And the Earth one is like tiny, right?
Yeah.
It's like maybe a fifth of the size or even less.
It's insane.
You're just like, fuck.
And you just wonder, you know, maybe that was the thing that fucking blew up and ended life and, you know, got rid of all the water on Mars. You know what I mean? That's billions of millions of years ago.
Definitely could have happened, and that's why.
And then the water evaporated and fucking disappeared. Everything died, and you've got these layers of.
A planet needs an atmosphere for the water to condensate.
Yeah, and then
turn into cloud and rain.
Yeah,
Mars doesn't have an atmosphere like ours,
but it does have clouds.
What?
Yeah, did you know that?
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, it's on that video. Mars has clouds, just like Earth.
Does it rain there?
No,
but they have clouds.
Yeah, they have clouds.
Is that water though? Clouds are water though, right?
Yeah, I know. But that's what I was like, what the hell?
What?
Yeah, I'll show you on that video. We'll actually maybe link the video as well if people want to sort of
if we're allowed to
watch it as well.
We're allowed to promote.
Yeah, of course.
Say check this out.
Yeah, of course.
We'll link that in probably the YouTube actually, just to. I hope we're allowed to.
Yeah, because you're quoting like an original source. So
okay, good.
Fine.
Well, we'll link that if anyone's interested in that video. It's about a 20-minute video. It's a TED Talk. The dude is so enthusiastic.
Yeah, he is.
So that's what got me interested. So hopefully you enjoy it too. But back to what I was going to say. I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh well, you were gonna open up a different topic.
It wasn't a different topic. It was just a little thing I was going to say, but it was kind of like off topic. But you were saying like everything in life leaves an imprint, some way or form. I think a friend of mine asked me the other day, if you could see one statistic, if God could grant you the sight to see one statistic, here, I'll give you mine. It would be to see my effect on the planet or the universe.
Okay.
My individual effect. Yep. Just to humble yourself, be like, this ain't shit. But then, as I talked to her more and more about it, she was like, but then... I might give you an idea, right? Or I might say something. You go, oh, that's really cool. And then you pass it on. And then that person passes on. And just and suddenly that idea is all over the world. You know what I mean? So I reckon it would be amazing to see. And I know it sounds very selfish, but stuff you, I don't care. It would be amazing to see, like, your footprint on anything. I think that's what I'd want. If you could see one statistic.
Yeah.
That's my deep statistic. But then if I don't know, like there was a more stupid one, it'd probably be like, I don't know.
I just wish life had stats.
How many steps I've taken?
Yeah.
Probably blow my mind. I'd be like, oh my God.
How many hours of traffic did I sit through? You know, how many hours of...
You know what would probably kill you is how many hours you spend on technology. You'd be like, ugh. That's not good. For me especially, I'd be like, oh.
Well, iPhones tell you that now, don't they?
Do they?
Yeah. Oh. Every Sunday I get a notification. You've used your phone 4 hours. Average, daily.
Pretty
but like I sleep with my phone on, so...
What do you mean? Like
I just put on I sleep with a podcast on.
Oh yeah, you go to sleep with it.
Yeah. So I think that counts towards the hours as well, because I don't use my phone that much. Or just open random videos on YouTube while I'm sleeping.
So quick input. Actually, no, fuck that. What would your statistic be?
Ooh, fuck.
I want to hear yours.
On the spot now.
Well, that's because I was thinking about that, and that just came to me though. But it's like, if you could see some statistic about your life, or forget your life, about anything.
If I could know like one thing, is that Like, if I could
actually, that
ask
sounds
God
better, doesn't it?
one question.
Can I know one thing about something? Give me one piece of knowledge, please. You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, it would have to be space. It would have to be space.
I know, I feel that too.
It would have to be space.
Like, what?
I'd be like, give me the stats for
how many
number of different planets that are habitable.
I think that would just...
Because I think...
We wouldn't have a number, though, for that. You know what I mean? He'd be like, you don't have a number for what I can tell you.
Well, I'd still want to see it. I don't care if that number is infinite. You know what I mean? But you don't know. That's the thing about it.
It would be something like, like, I think it would be... So many of my questions are stuff that I wouldn't be able to be shown or comprehend. Like, how big is the universe?
Yeah.
And the answer would probably just be like, well, it's expanding, so it's different each time. But like stuff like that, where it's just like, we should probably stay in our Earth bubble because it's so insane out there. It would be, but that's what's so fascinating. You know, you got that drive to be like, oh.
Well, what's also fascinating is the fact that about a month or two ago, Pentagon released those footages about the UFO sightings from the...
And no one gives a fuck.
And they're like, yeah, this shit is real. Because those videos came out years ago. I remember seeing those videos. I remember hearing about it on the Joe Rogan podcast.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they're literally saying, this is real, guys.
Yeah.
We're serious. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, whatever.
And everyone's like,
even though I was like that. I saw the video. I'm like, whatever, right? But it's fucking... real. Obviously, we don't know what to believe, guys. It's hard to take anything at its word, especially at a government level. It's hard to know anything these days. But watch the video, man. That's a fucking spaceship.
Yeah,
it's a spaceship.
It is, eh? And it uses technology that's alien to us.
The aliens are here.
Yeah.
All right, they're here. Did you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast? They got the Area 51 guy in. And he was
Bob
talking
Lazar.
about Bob Lazar, and they were talking about the spaceships they had in the hangars and how they work.
Yep.
Dude, I listened to that on a day when I was landscaping, and it was like 8 hours, and I just listened to the whole thing. I listened to it twice, and I was just like, I cannot believe what this dude's saying. And obviously everyone goes, oh, he's full of shit, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And because it's like, for someone to even get out of their kind of like legal binding stuff and be able to say that stuff... But on your own, you're like, oh, I don't know if this is legit. But dude, he sounded pretty. He's a pretty credible.
Yeah.
It was hard to know, but I was just like, forget if it's true or not. I was like, this is a great story. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, some of the shit he said back in the 80s or 90s when he first came out with this story, like the technology that he was saying that they had back then, like what he was saying is when you enter area. Well, he wasn't actually at Area 51. It was Area 47 or something.
It was like in the same place though.
Yeah, very close to it. And what he was saying when he first came out, I think it was in the 80s or the 90s, I'm not exactly sure. He was saying when you go in, you know how we have finger scanning technologies, eye scan, whatnot. He was saying where you put your hand on this thing and it measures your bone density. And that's when it knows. So it's not just your finger, it actually measures your bone density. And that technology wasn't available back then. It only just recently became available, I think, about a year and a half ago.
Well, that's the theory, isn't it? That our jump in technological advancement recently in the last 20 years, 15 years, whatever, is due to that. It's due to that we captured spacecraft in some way or alien technology and we have gone from that. Because it is like a lot of shit you might not even, like, even if it makes sense when you take it apart and you go, oh yeah, I totally understand how this works. It's like we had a big jump at one point. We've got iPhones now. What the fuck, you know? We went from flip phones to iPhones and then... Like, just little jumps like that. But, yeah, if we can plug that, that'd be cool. I reckon go listen to that one. Joe Rogan interviews Bob Lazar, but that's from a while ago.
Oh, I just watched the documentary as well. It's on Netflix. It's
I didn't watch the documentary.
Bob Lazar, Area 51.
Yeah, super conspiracy theorist stuff, if you're into that.
Yeah, oh, dude, I'm all over
conspiracy
theory, especially when it comes to space.
Some people hate that shit and they go, oh, it's all just fucking garbage. It's like... Who cares? It's awesome though. No, it's awesome.
It's a good time. Yeah. Obviously, not everyone's into it, but hey, we are.
Yeah,
you are too.
Oh, well, hopefully, yeah. But a few things from the last, well, actually, only one thing I've really cared to talk about the last podcast is the point where I mentioned about the Mariana Trench, and I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, there's a trench somewhere.
There's a trench. There's something or other trench, right? And I couldn't figure it out, right? And
I'm like, yeah, there is.
Oh yeah, that trench, right, mate? I'm like, all right. So it's called the Mariana Trench.
Yep.
I know this now because I looked at it. Yep. And I took a whole bunch of notes down because I went quite deep.
Balls deep.
Literally, it's a deep trench, and I went deep.
Like how deep?
Like how low do my balls hang? Probably like. Fuck, I don't know, 6 inches or something.
All right.
So times that by 10,930 meters. That's how many balls deep I went.
Damn, that's
So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start at the top and then the bottom.
So you just gonna lay some facts.
Lay some little facts out.
All right, there you go. Fun facts with Teal. Maybe this could be our segment.
Alrighty, so
let's go.
Okay,
hit me up.
So the one thing I fucking want, but I don't fucking have, is where it starts. God damn it!
Where it starts?
What do you mean? I thought I took a note down of where like the trench starts in conjunction to the surface of the ocean.
Oh,
like how deep down does the trench actually start and then go? I can't remember. Begins 6,000 meters. That's so 6,000 meters deep from the surface of the ocean. That's where it starts, and it ends at a place called Challenger Deep, which is 10,930 meters deep.
Poof.
So, you know, it's...
And obviously we haven't been able to go down there yet? Or...
Yes, they have.
Oh, they have?
That's what Challenger Deep is. But they've sent...
Didn't the guy from Avatar went down there or something? James Cameron?
So he actually didn't break the record, though. There was another person in, like, the 60s, I can't remember who did that. But I'm just going to lay out a few facts here, right? So, first one, the deepest sea wreck we've found is the SS Rio Grande at 5,760 meters.
Okay.
So that's just into the, or just before the Mariana Trench, right? Sperm whales dive up to 2,250 meters.
Damn.
So we're going a bit off of the trench, but that's how, and it's deep dark in there.
Yeah,
it's dark, man.
Yeah.
And they hunt the giant squid.
Yeah.
Like a legit giant squid. They're fucking huge, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they eat. So they have to go down there to hunt them, and they use the sonar, like most water creatures, to find the giant squid. And a giant squid eyeball is the size of a dinner plate, so they're about this big. Huge.
Yeah.
And they fucking have awesome Titan battles down there in the deep ocean. Sick shit like that. And a bit of a depressing fact is how deep our fishing trawler nets can go. And that's 1,500 meters. So that's very, very, very deep still.
Yeah.
So we drag in the fucking fishing nets, and that just collects everything.
Yeah.
Right? And that's about... To put that in perspective, the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building we have on planet Earth, which is in...
Is that in Dubai?
Yeah, Dubai, I think. Yeah. That's 830 meters. Right? So basically times that by 2 almost.
Yeah.
And that's how deep we can put fishing nets. And that just scoops up everything.
Right? Yeah.
And that's really, really not great, because it does just collect everything, rips apart coral, whatever, you know, it picks up everything, right? Anglerfish. You remember Nemo? Yeah, that was terrifying, bro. You remember when it's like the light and they're like, oh, we're going to find light? So those creatures can go down to 4,500. That's where they're found. 4,500 meters. That's deep. That's twice as deep as the sperm whale.
Did we ever catch one of those?
I don't know. I'm sure they did. They're not
cool,
massive.
Right?
They're not like huge.
Yeah.
They're just like...
But it'd be cool to see one, you know, in a museum somewhere. Like giant teeth.
They look terrifying. Well, they've got pictures of them.
Yeah.
And they're terrifying. And there's a whole bunch of other things. I'll show you the video. And I might link the video in, because it's a terrific little like cartoon video about literally how deep it goes.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going. You wouldn't believe how deep it is. But there's a whole bunch of other creatures down there that I didn't take down because it was just so much stuff that live so deep down. Aliens, man. Aliens. These crazy eel demon fish. I think one of them's called like a dragonfish or something. Like a demon dragonfish. Like so much shit lives down in the earth. So we're out there going into space. It's the same down here on Earth. You go down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, you're going to find shit that if you found out in space, you'd panic.
I remember watching a documentary a while back on Nat Geo, and what they were saying, that scientists estimate that there could be over 40,000 different type of species that live deep ocean waters that we don't even know about, which is insane. 40,000. Like, can you try to even understand that?
It's a good thing to put us in perspective. Shows how much we don't know, man. It's crazy, but
dude, there could be another civilization down there.
Aquaman's down
and like
there.
they can't come up. We can't go down because like they're.
You know? Yeah, we can only go so deep. They can only come so high. Yeah. Holy shit, imagine, man.
Water people.
But yeah, anyway, that was just a little fact I wanted to drop in, because I was furious in myself that I couldn't remember the name of the trench, and I know it, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to go back, I'm going to put that in. But another topic change, to get back to a bit on space, a little question I wanted to know was, are we falling in space or are we sitting in space?
No, we're sitting. Well, not exactly.
Because I've heard we're falling. Everything is falling through space.
Well, there's no gravity. You can't fall. There's no gravity.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I'm like, if there's nothing pulling us down or...
But it's just suspended in...
But there's nothing to know relatively. If everything's falling together, or if everything's staying together...
It's constantly moving, right? Everything's always moving, but there's no up or down in space.
Sideways.
So there's no falling down. Because there is no down.
There's just orbiting around something.
Yeah.
Just orbiting around the
sun.
sun.
So like the sun is what, we're orbiting around the sun. It's pretty much gravity that creates, motion in a way.
Without gravity, nothing would do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was just a little question I had because I wasn't sure about that. But little thing I want to talk to you about as well, because I love this. So light speed, right? Light has a speed.
Yeah.
And that speed is, I think that's what we call light years. This is how many light years it takes to get to this place. And light travels at some ridiculous speed. I can't remember. It's like 300,000 something or other.
Very fast.
Anyway, it travels fast. But light still takes time to get from somewhere to somewhere else. Yes. So, I think you might know this already. But you look up at the night sky, you see a star. That star might not exist anymore.
Yeah, I know.
It might not. That light you see, that doesn't exist.
Could be dead.
But that's all you see is the light traveling to us. So that light is still in motion traveling to us, but that planet's already blown up 6 million years ago. But that light, because it's taken that light 10 trillion years to get to us, we still see the past.
Yeah.
So we effectively see the past. So if you had like a super telescope or something, I don't think this is actually how it works, but let's say someone had a super telescope, they looked at Earth, would they see the dinosaurs? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well...
because that's how light works. It's like light still takes time to travel, so you are always, on every single star you see out there, every single planet, light still takes time to travel to our eyes to anywhere. So we are always seeing the past in space.
Yeah. Well, depending on which because space sort of, is always expanding. That's pretty much how they come to all these different theories and projections about the future and the past is just pretty much observing space. Because, they can look at shit and see the past and, how things have sort of... Because everything's always in motion. Everything is always in motion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I was reading this a while back, and they were saying that the first radio waves that we've ever sent out, like let's say when we first had technology, and the first radio broadcast, they're saying that signal is still traveling through space.
Yeah, bloody hell.
So imagine like 1,000 years later, that signal gets picked up by another civilization.
And we don't exist
and they
anymore.
think, and we don't exist, and then the radio they're hearing is actually from the freaking 50s. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I mean.
And they think we're at that point, but we're way past that.
That's the same as light speed, isn't it? It's like everything takes time to travel. So unfortunately, and that's another point they made about Mars. I think it's something like it would take 20 minutes for a message to travel, like let's say I don't know, an email or something to travel. So instant communication would be impossible. Let's say you had a crisis, right? Distress signal sent. 20 minutes later, we get it. Too late. That's how long it actually takes.
To Earth? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or between, whichever, right?
Yeah.
That's how long it would take a message to get. And I can't remember what they gave example, if it was like emails. I'm sure they have something better than email out in SpaceX or
pigeons,
whatever.
Space pigeons.
Go! Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure we got better than that. But that was one thing I did hear and went, ooh, yeah, that'd be rough. And that's probably why they're sticking the 5G satellites out there. Speed that shit up. And I mean, did you see them trailing through the sky? Did you see the video of them?
Which?
The 5G satellites.
No,
they all lined up and they went across the sky together. Just a big line of them.
Well, that was the was that the Starlink?
They launched like 30,000 satellites or something ridiculous.
Yeah. That's thing. Elon Musk's space company. Yeah, Starlink.
But still, that was pretty alarming to see. Like, oh shit, and that's whatever. I can't do anything about it, but it is pretty full on. I mean, But
it is very interesting.
But it is
very interesting. I mean, just the fact that even the heat, the light we get from the sun takes about 8 minutes. So, like, if there was a small solar flare on the in the sun, it takes about 8 minutes apparently for that.
Or if there was like a give out, like the sun suddenly had a little stutter.
Yeah.
And it would take 8 minutes for that sun to get to us, and then another 8 minutes for the sun to reboot back up for us. Yeah, right. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. Nothing's instant in the universe because we're so far away from everything. Yeah. And another little thing, wormholes, bro.
Oof.
So you got a piece of paper like this, right? To travel from point A to point B, you got to go across the paper, right? For you guys listening on podcasts, I'm making a little diagram with my hands. It's pretty shit. You're not missing out. So you got to travel from point A to point B. It'll take however long it takes to get from point A to point B across a flat surface. Yeah. You fold the paper, and then suddenly point A and point B are right next to each other. You stick a wormhole between them, and you can travel. That's pretty fucking awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
So you create a wormhole in time. A wormhole, the theory behind a wormhole is it allows you to skip through time and space. Time and space don't fucking matter anymore. Like, dude, I got to be in Spain in 3 minutes. Button, creates a wormhole. You walk through it. Whoa, you're at Spain. Yeah. Like, what the fuck, right? Well, not even that. You're somewhere else in the universe.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, no. Yeah, go ahead.
If you had the ability to travel through time and space, what time period would you want to see? Would you go into the future? Would you go back in time?
I'd do I'd do both, man. I'd go.
You have one option.
Oh, what?
Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of the question then? But you got to make it challenging.
Well, less alarming would be going back into the past because you can't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So you just go there to like experience it, but then going to the future, you have no idea what to expect.
Scary shit.
So you might get there and be like, "Oh, I fucking can't. What the fuck?" Right?
There's no humans. It's just
AI have just taken over. You suddenly pop out of existence in a crowd of Terminators, and they all look at you, and you're just like, "Oh, fuck."
And then they think you're
trying to get back to Earth. You're like hitting your glove. You're like da, 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 and they just kill your ass. You're like dead, man. So I'd probably go to the future.
That'd be pretty funny.
I'd wait though. I'd wait until I'm old, so that if I did turn up and they just massacred my ass, at least I was dying already. I'd be too scared to go now. Imagine that you turn up and there's like dinosaurs are back or something, and you're like, oh fuck. You know?
Okay, but let's say you've got the device and you can. Okay, you're 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. What?
You want my number?
Yeah.
Oh my fuck. Well.
Even 100 years would be... I mean, you look back 100 years now, how different the world is.
What if you hit in 1,000 years and you turn up at this exact spot and there's no oxygen? You're like... Oxygen's all gone. There's no water. There's just nothing. And you just suffocate straight away.
Who knows?
Or the atmosphere's gone in 1,000 years. Yeah. So you teleport to here and you just get sucked out into space.
And then you do a podcast there.
See, all these things you're thinking about that is like... These are the potential things. But then if it was all perfect... I'd hit 1,000 years and see what happens.
1,000?
And I turn up and everyone's aliens. And they're like, oh my God, what are you? And I'm like, dude, I was you.
Yeah.
I'm what you guys are. I'm your ancestor. And they're
we're like the apes of now. Like the chimps.
Yeah, well, that's what we talked about last time. It's like, what stage of evolution are we in? Oh, the monkeys are in the Stone Age. We're so superior. What stage of evolution are we in? You know? In, well, fuck that, no, 200 years ain't too long. Let's say, 1,000 years. Next stage of evolution, suddenly we got brain chips, we become cyborgs. Yeah. I reckon, I mean, I know it's scary, but I really do reckon that the next stage of, like, extreme evolution for us, like, the big moment is when we turn into cyborgs. Yeah. A lot of our body is cybernetic, cyberpunk style, right? You've got all the augments, you got the brain chips, you can, like, zoom in with your eyes, you can fucking mantis blades coming out your arms. Yeah. I reckon
we're getting there. We're getting there.
Like, there's already prosthetics, robotic prosthetics. I mean, but I reckon that is... Elon already wants to put the fucking chips in our heads, you know?
Yeah.
So...
And he's saying 2024. He's saying that's going to be available.
The fuck,
that's
man?
Only just around the corner.
That's terrifying.
That's literally just around the corner.
I'd be scared to have headaches all the time.
But then you can download an app for it.
But for me, it's so natural. You know? I'd be so averse to it because I do love the natural world, and I feel like that's so not natural.
Yeah,
especially, and your brain would be fried. Your brain would be getting fried permanently Can you put the chip on airplane mode when you go to sleep?
Turn off notifications.
I put my phone on airplane mode when I go to bed because I don't want whatever internet and shit and
especially now since we started this podcast, like, you know, we get so many
getting hit up all the time.
Oh my god, it's insane, man.
Come on, to the Joe Rogan
dude,
podcast.
I went out shopping the other day.
Oh, really?
All these people stopped me. Oh my god, you're the guy from I'm Not a Scientist podcast.
Yeah, they just shouted out, they're like, I'm not a scientist. I'm like, neither am I.
Yeah, well, fuck yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You know,
we'll have some merch coming out soon. Oh, dude. Build up an army of I'm Not a Scientist.
Go broke making t-shirts, no one buys them. Stake all our claim. Oh, we're gonna bring out these awesome. Dude, no, I reckon if we ever did make t-shirts, it would look great because that artwork looks awesome.
Yeah, I know.
It would look good just in the middle. Yeah, you know, that'd be sick.
You got 2 black holes covering
your tip for the girls, bro. Yes. No, okay. Pardon me, guys. Anyway, we still got so much to talk about. This is great. I didn't think we were going to cover a lot of what I was writing down. Now we're getting into the real heavy stuff, ladies and gentlemen. If it wasn't already heavy enough.
No. So, what are we getting into?
Death.
Oh my god.
Oh, death.
That's pretty heavy.
An idea I had the other day was, what if life is training for death, and death is the test to determine where you go? What if this whole experience we spend here, living, is learning what we can learn, growing how we can grow, doing all these things so that when we die, whatever that test may be, but it tests how much you've actually questioned and learned, and whatever the right way is, I don't know, but death is the test, and it determines whether you come back to Earth and have to learn again because you decided not to learn anything. You decided to just be a fucking, I don't care, I know all, you know? I know everything already. Or you get shot out into the universe and experience something else. You know what I mean? Imagine if all this is just training for death. Because death isn't the end. I'm pretty sure we all know this now. Death isn't the end. Death is scary. Death is the beginning. So is this the prologue?
Yeah.
And then death is the main part of the game?
Yeah, could be.
And then the epilogue is something we don't even know yet.
Yeah. Well, it could be, you know, like when a butterfly, before it develops its wings and everything.
Oh my fucking god, they're a caterpillar, bro.
Yeah, they're a caterpillar. Right?
That's a whole different stage of life. That's a whole different life.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's such a good example. Yeah. I love it. That's an excellent example.
Yeah, I thought of that as soon as he started talking about. I'm like, ooh, it's sort of like that. Because it's like a freaking caterpillar, and then it you know creates this cocoon, and it's literally cut off from this world, and then it comes out as
a completely different creature.
Yeah, and it can fly and shit. What if
there we go. We just discovered the answer.
What if this life is, you know, our caterpillar stage, and then
death is the
cocooning, and then after that is
the next stage,
where we develop these little wings and fly up into the space.
Well, that. I can't believe that was great.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this question's gonna have us going on for ages. We just did that. I'm happy with that.
That's what I believe in.
That makes sense though, because that's a perfect metaphor for it. It's like what my question and what you just said, that works together. It's like that's
well. So going back to what I sort of sprinkled at the end of the last episode with my mushroom trip. So I actually came to that concept. Through my experience with mushrooms. It's just I don't know, it just gave me this sense of, to me, the way I see it, like every time I've done mushrooms for about 3-4 times now, and it's like every time I've done it, it's like I gain this knowledge about this life, and it's very hard to put it into words. It's an experience, right? And I look, like, obviously this is a podcast and we've got to be responsible with what we talk about. So I'm not saying go out and do these things. So I'm just talking about my experience. I'm not saying this was what, you know, I'm not saying everyone will get the same experience and everyone will learn and feel the same things. This was just my experience. But man, I'll never forget the first time I've done it. I was literally laying down just watching the stars and shit. And dude, I felt like I fucking just shot up into the sky. And you know what I felt like? I felt like we were the stars, right? So this is like something that I sort of, like this thing that I went through while I was on this trip. I felt like we were actually stars. So everyone you see, right, were actually once a star. And we couldn't find a way to connect to one another. So we're all out there just, illuminating, sending out light and whatnot. But we couldn't find a way to connect and communicate and form these sort of connections with one another. And this life is like a projection of ourselves, where because this life is all about meeting people, making connections, and forming bonds. That's what life is to me. Because I think, in a very strange way, I think we are all connected. And that's why, I think you find happiness when you help people, when you connect to people. You live on your own, you just sort of stick to yourself. You're only going to be so happy.
Doesn't feel so great, does it? Doing this podcast, it feels amazing because there's two of us talking about something, and the idea that people might listen to this.
But like it's like this thing, when this coronavirus, started, and everyone had to be isolated and on their own. You see how much that impacted our society.
People didn't realise until it happened how much they rely
on just communities, other people. Just seeing other people. Like, you're driving, you pass a restaurant, just seeing people sitting down, having dinner. You know what I mean?
Feeling part of something, isn't it?
There's just something to that.
But it also has brought a lot of people together as well, in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
It works both ways, but I 100% agree, man, that we're all connected.
We're all connected in some way.
We're all from the same thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. We're all from the same thing.
We're all part of this system.
I'm not from over there and you're from over here. We're all from this, whatever that is. You know what I mean? So, it's just the way the world is at the moment that creates a bit of division and makes us not think that we're, part of the same thing and be nice to each other. Just to do what feels good. And, I reckon, we're all connected for sure. So,
like, I don't want to talk too much about my trips in this episode because I think the topic the topic that we discussed in this episode was. There's a lot to take in there already, so I don't want it to sort of overcrowd this episode. It's something that we'll definitely touch up on later. But I mean, that's just sort of like, when you brought up life and death, when I experienced mushrooms, it's like I felt that day, hey, this is not the end. Like what I felt, I mean, I always believed, hey, we have a soul and whatnot, but you can't really feel it. You're like, yeah, maybe I have a soul, you know what I mean? But when I took mushrooms the first time, I realized, let's say you're going from point A to point B, right? Let's say you hop on a car, right? You're not the car. You're what's inside the car, right? Yeah. The car is just the thing that takes you from point A to point B. A vehicle, right? Yeah. So the way I felt when I was on mushrooms, your body is this vehicle in this life, but you're not this.
You're the soul.
You're what's inside. Yeah. So this is just a way of you moving from point A to point B in this life, right? And eventually you're going to get out of that car and get to your destination, which I think is when the end of life. Like when you die, that's when you leave this body.
And you don't have a vehicle in the next life.
You don't have
it.
You're just you, Because at the end of the day, what is you? Is you inside your head? Because there's so much shit. There's so much shit that happens inside your body. There's so many systems you're not even in control of. You don't constantly go, all right, heartbeat, breathe. Or when you go for a run, you don't tell yourself to sweat. Like your body does these things automatically, right?
Yep.
So I don't know, man. Like this could be a whole another topic.
I think we should definitely leave this for next time because we already are at a minute 15.
A minute 15?
Sorry, an hour 15.
Fuck, have we not been recording?
Dude, I'd kill myself. I would genuinely
I would literally leave right now and probably wouldn't do the third episode.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
Anyway, we're at a minute 15, so we'll probably wrap it up here just because... Like you said, it is a lot to take in, especially what we talked about this episode. Yeah. But we'll write that down so we can just start that with the next episode.
Yeah, because
hopefully, people did want to hear.
Yeah.
And we covered a little bit, but I reckon we go into much more detail about it next time. So, I think awesome. That's a good time. And yeah, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed this one. Yeah. I mean, this one was a lot more nerve-wracking than the last one, just because it felt a bit more.
What should we name this episode?
Oh, we'll figure it out. You guys will see. I'll come up with a thing for you, and we'll just put it in. But we don't need to worry about that while we're recording.
But no. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your feedback. Hopefully this episode was a bit more structured. Hopefully you'll find the content a bit more interesting this time around. We'd really appreciate it if you guys, listen to this as well and keep those feedbacks coming. And hopefully, we'll keep improving. We'll make it better with each episode we go.
Yeah, be free as you want to give us feedback.
Yeah.
Because,
and don't be nice.
Don't be nice.
Don't be nice.
I mean, I'll hate you, but don't be nice. I'm kidding.
No, be as brutal as you can. Because, that's the only way we're going to improve. So if you think parts of the podcast is shit, tell us it's shit. Any feedback is appreciated, good or bad. Because at the end of the day, feedback is feedback, right?
100%.
Do we want to say anything else before we say goodbye to
I don't think so. I'm just quickly taking down a note of what I want to link in the video. So all this stuff I said will link, email, videos and shit. I'm just writing that down. So check the I guess description on YouTube and the whatever there is on SoundCloud, if I can even do it there. If you want to get in touch with us, if you don't,
that's
fine,
all right.
I guess.
Fine. Yeah, it's fine.
That's all right.
Fine, be that way.
Yeah,
whatever.
That's all right. We're just trying to connect. I mean, shit.
I wasn't into you anyways.
I don't even know who you are. Anyway,
I'm joking.
We love you.
Yeah. Please watch our podcast.
You dirty little ape monkeys. Fucking hell. Anyway,
dirty little.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening to our podcast. And
it's been great fun.
We appreciate any and all of you listening. So I really hope you have a good time with us. We're having a great time. And we will see you on the next episode. So peace out, everyone.
See you on episode 3.
Yeah, bye.
I've been it's been, honestly, this has been so fun. It's been great. Thank you for everything. Again, I'm Khan. That's Teal. Thank you for listening.
See you guys later.
Bye.